Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the youngsters that are in Formula 2 and Formula 3. How you think, taking into consideration how is Formula 1 right now with so many youngsters, what do you think is going to happen with some guys that probably should be in the Formula 1 in the next years, but maybe it will be difficult for some?
Yeah, it's really disappointing for so many young drivers because they've been dedicated to becoming Formula 1 drivers since they were in karting, junior racing, and then they do well in F3 or F2. But of course there are only 20 Formula 1 cars available, and many of those are taken up by established stars, some by drivers with a big budget. So there's very little space for so many young drivers, so few places, and it's going to end up with disappointment.
This year we have a fight that you remember well in the past, because there were many fights like this one. Where do you think it's going to be until the end of the year? Hamilton or Verstappen?
I think it's going to go to the end of the year. It's really difficult to know. It could just be on a balance of a sprint race result, a fastest lap in the Grand Prix, engine reliability issue, or could just be a single turning point in the end, because they're clearly two great teams, two great drivers, and the drivers are at their peak. And I wouldn't want to guess. I mean, in Istanbul, it looks like Mercedes have the better car, even though Hamilton's taking a 10-place grid drop. So it's really race by race, lap by lap, as to know who's going to win the World Championship.
Okay. Do you believe probably Lewis Hamilton will have more 2 years probably? After that, do you believe that Max Verstappen could be as winner as Hamilton is right now?
I think it'd be hard for Max. It'd be hard for anybody to win like Hamilton has done. I mean, obviously in the hybrid era, Mercedes had a big advantage, but so did Lewis's teammate, and Lewis was still taking the titles, all except one. So Max will have Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, George Russell, and many other young stars to beat, of course. So I think it'll be unusual if we saw another dominance like Mercedes had for a while, but it does look like Verstappen will be the man to beat. It's clearly more towards the end of Lewis's career than the beginning, so we'll see how much longer he wants to run, but he's very fit mentally, physically. The cars are safe now, so Lewis could go for several more years yet.
You have witnessed many generations of fantastic drivers. You lived in track many of that fights. How do you compare the actual generation of Formula 1 drivers with the ones that you have seen since you race?
I think it's a different discipline now, but the driving level, the best are still the best, and they just find what's most important now. It's about accuracy, consistency. The cars are so good, time management. So the great drivers always adapt. As we see Fernando Alonso adapting through the various phases of his career. Obviously, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, the drivers took more risks. It was much more dangerous. The cars were much less reliable, and you had to drive in a different way. It wasn't as on the limit as it is now, but it was more challenging in other respects. So I don't think you can say one generation's better than the other. The drivers adapt to what they need to do.
Do you agree with the affirmation that Formula 1 is growing in interest among supporters in the last 5 years?
Yeah, Formula 1's in a very good place. The Netflix series has helped it a lot. The fight between Hamilton and Verstappen, so many good young drivers. So we only have 20 cars on the grid, but they're really good quality teams now. And I think Formula 1's in the best place, despite the pandemic, in the best place it's been for many years.
Okay. Probably you know a lot about the new cars of 2022. What do you think it will be that next generation?
Well, we're told that the new cars will be much better for overtaking each other, so we wait to see that with great interest. All of the data suggests they should follow each other better, give us better racing. Hopefully we can lose the drag reduction system then and get some more pure racing. We'll find out next year, but I'm sure the teams will change and adapt the cars and they'll be more or less as fast.
Okay. And what about the work of Liberty Media in the last years? Do you think it was a good step for Formula One, the work they are doing?
I do, because they understand global media more, they understand social media and to open the sport up. So in many respects it was the next step that Formula One needed. Obviously Bernie Ecclestone did an incredible job to put together Formula One, to keep it together, to grow it into the global sport that it is. So we always have to thank Bernie, but I think the next steps that were needed have now been taken.
Okay, best of luck for your race. Thank you very much.